Welcome to Be Now for April the 4th, and my name is Don McLeod, and as usual, I am joined by Fazal Khan. Faz, how's it going?
I'm good, Don. I'm happy to be in April and started enjoying some warm weather. You told me the other day it's going to be 18 degrees and sunny this week.
I think they said later in the week, yes, it's going to be in the double digits, so we're starting to get there. The robins are out there building the nests and chirping around like crazy, so when that happens, the warm weather gets here. Although we have had snow on May 2-4 weekend, so
yeah,
I don't want to bring the hopes up too high because you never know. I haven't taken the burlap off the cotton Easters yet. It's still up there.
I didn't put burlap on mine, so
yeah, I know.
I'm one step ahead of you already, Don.
Yeah, I've seen your hedges; they're going to get burnt.
Okay, all right. So,
what do we got in the show today?
Yeah, first of all, Karen said it was double digits today. So, you didn't tell me if it was going to be sunny and warm on the same day. And I think you're...
Well, I want full sun. So, I got to get out the suntan lotion, get ready for that.
Okay, Don. Anyways, so we got a few topics this week. I'm going to call it This Week in Brampton. Just, our
general thing. Okay.
Normal discussion. And then we're going to talk about... I'll talk about it here, right, quickly. Canada versus Switzerland, the first IIHF hockey games happening. And then you wanted to have a comprehensive discussion on a pilot project potential that's coming to City Council tomorrow. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. And then, obviously, our feature story is what is going on with the Bramalea Civic Centre. And we'll get into that, and I'm sure there'll be some comments. So let's start with This Week in Brampton. So we got a number of topics done, but the one I want to get to is my pipes. Can we do that one first?
We can talk about your pipes, right?
Okay, so let me see if I can get this technology working here. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so I don't know about you, Don, but I had to. I've lived in my house for almost 20 years, and the maintenance is starting now to add up. I'm pretty sure I got to do my roof at some point soon. My driveway it's asphalt, but it's looking a little bad. And then my sewer. So my kitchen, this is what you're seeing is my basement. Yeah, you can see it's kind of partially finished, luckily. But my kitchen sinks weren't draining properly. And I narrowed it down to this drain in the basement. And so you told me, yeah, you should call the plumber because it's what are you going to pay him $200-300 to do it? Well, you were wrong, Don. It was not $200-300 because I was going to try to do this on my own. I was going to go get what do you call that thing?
A snake.
A snake. I got a small snake. It's not in the frame. I was going to get a big one, but after I saw what these guys did, I'm glad I didn't because that would have been a weekend-long project.
No, you don't want to do that.
Home Depot. So what you're seeing there is the green hose, which the guy's kind of pushing in and out, is a high pressure spray that's connected to the truck at the front of the house. And then the thing that looks like a tire there with the orange frame, that is actually a camera system, and you can see the screen there. So there's some high technology going on with my drains right now there. So the question I had on Twitter is, what do you think that cost, Don? I know you know, but I asked some folks on Twitter. So Mike raises an interesting question. Wasn't there a company offering insurance for this kind of stuff? No, that's not this.
No, that's sent by the Region Appeal, and they were. It was a company associated with the Region Appeal, and they were selling you insurance about sewer backup from the main line.
Backup? I thought it was something to do if your sewer connection kind of to the city was damaged.
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's damaged or if it backs up, right? So it's like sometimes the house insurance doesn't cover the backup, and they're talking about from the city property into your house that they would do a coverage on that because basically you're only covered to the house area, right?
Yeah. So and then the insurance thing was for your water line. Yep. Yeah. So in this case, so the one of the plumber guys did say, "Hey, you should check with your insurance if they cover it." So we called, and the deductible on the insurance is $5,000. This did not cost $5,000. So I'm going to reveal the amount. Darshan guessed it was $1,000. It was actually $1,700, which I I'm glad we got the service done, but I'm still feeling that cost because that's a lot of money to do what they did. But it's a lot of work as well. Not a lot of work. They were there for maybe an hour and a half.
Dude, the thing is, I told you before when you talked to me about that, there's so many things that go down the drain. And, you know, you talked about it because you asked the guy, you know, because your dishwasher is connected to your main drain also, coming down from your kitchen, which most people have. So you have your sinks, and then normally you have your dishwasher, and all that goes down through that main corridor, and then it goes into like 1.5-inch PVC pipes down to the main pipe, right? Yeah. So what did he say about what was the reason for the clog up?
So the guy that's doing this job, he's a specialized guy. He comes with his own truck. That's all he does. He says they used to do 1 or 2 of these a week in Brampton. And he says everybody's getting dishwashers now. And now he does 3 to 5 a day. And, you know, if they're charging $1,700, you could just think that one guy is generating quite a bit of revenue for the company. I wouldn't say which company it is. I think they need some competition. But one of the causes, he says, is not just regular kind of kitchen grease, because that's 20 years of whatever buildup is in there. The substance was this white gummy, not gummy. It was like almost like the mud you put on your drywall. It kind of had that consistency and look. And I didn't know what that was. It didn't look like sewer sludge, what I would imagine sewer sludge was. But then the plumber said it's the dishwasher pods that people are putting in their dishwasher, the powder form, because the powder isn't really completely dissolved. And then when it gets into the sewer, it kind of reconstitutes. And depending on what else is down there, over time, it builds up. So warning to everybody, if you're using a dishwasher, I'm going to be looking for a new kind of, because I use the pods with the powder, the powder, but it looks like it's gel because it has like different colors on top of it, but it's mostly powder. So I used to use liquid. I think it was liquid anyways, I'm going to be looking for a better solution to this.
You know what the better solution is, Faz? Forget the dishwasher. Just do the dishes by hand, the old-fashioned way. That's a simple problem solution to the problem.
No, I don't wash dishes by hand. It's not hygiene, Don. You got to do it by machine. Okay, so we got a lot of comments.
Your $1,700 sob story.
Yeah, Don is the home inspector. That's his side business. Pre-rinse. I'm not sure pre-rinsing is the problem. Pre-rinsing is not the problem.
No.
Oh. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, okay. So
Mike's washing dishes by hand. There you go.
Mike is probably the pre-rinser. Okay.
All right,
I think we spent enough time on my drains, Don.
What else we got?
Okay, so next on the list is the Go service. The weekend Go service is starting this weekend.
That's true. Eh? When does it start? Saturday or Sunday?
It's Saturday. I'm going to be there. I know Councillor Santos is going to be there, and MPP Graham is going to be there. I think the mayor is going to be there. I also saw that the mayor of Guelph might be there, and I was wondering why he would be there. And I think it's because the GO train starts in Mount Pleasant, the two-way service on the weekend. It doesn't go all the way to Guelph, but I think there's a GO bus from Guelph that'll come to Brampton to make it an easier commute to downtown Toronto on weekends for people from Guelph. So,
okay. Well, somebody said Doug Ford might be on the train as well. So I don't know, but if you're going to be down there covering it, then you can, get some shots and see what's going on.
Okay. And then it's Easter. It's Easter this weekend.
Yeah, it is Good Friday. Yep. Good Friday.
And then we also have a boxing video that you worked on, Don. Let me pull it up here. And maybe let's watch it, and then we can talk about it, okay?
We're here at the Bramalea Boxing Club to do a very special announcement for the community and for the kids in the community.
Our program is been around for 55 years. We would like to open it up to refugees and an after-school program for youth ages 10 to 17 at no cost to the youth. We'll provide memberships for them and any boxing gear that's needed.
As a mother of 2 and an educator, I can't emphasize how important it is for physical activity on a regular basis. The children will have the opportunity to gain so much more than just exercise. All the mentorship that they will get, the friendships that they'll make that will last a lifetime, and so much more that they will gain from coming to the Bramalea Boxing Club.
Our local MPP, Graham McGregor, and I just want to say thank you very much for all of the support for the Brampton Cup. It meant a lot, not only to the fighters, not only to the clubs that came out, but also to me, because when we can rely on our MPPs or other levels of government to come out and help us out, it's so much better, and everybody seems to want to win.
Well, look, I mean, you know, Rod and I are both good old Brampton boys. The Brampton Cup is a 40-year institution right here in Brampton, and you always got to support that kind of stuff. So, you know, we got elected to be Brampton boys, and we got to stand up for Brampton when it counts.
So I love that video, Don. You know why? Because it is multiple levels of government in one video. We had a trustee, we had a counselor, and we had an MPP, and we had a community group. So kudos for doing that. It's one of the things when we started Brampton Focus in 2014, we saw everybody siloed, and I'm glad to see you trying to bring these community leaders together.
Well, the thing is, on the boxing club there, it's been around for a while now. There's, if you want any details, because she talked about, you know, refugee children and, you know, about, you know, from 10 to 17, they would give them, make them join or have them join, and they would provide them with free hand wraps and equipment and so on and so forth. If you want more information on that, because she didn't elaborate, you can always contact the Bramalea Boxing Club, or you can talk to Rod Power. Rod Power actually used to train at the Bramalea Boxing Club. So you can email him as well. And if you noticed in some of the B-roll there was Troy Ross, a picture of Troy Ross. Well, he's being inducted into the Brampton Sports Hall of Fame, I think later on this year. So, you know, that boxing club's been around for quite a while.
Okay, and some other comments. This is from Mike and Karen Dancy again. They're talking about e-bikes. I'm not sure what the big news is. The pilot is starting. Is that what?
Yeah, I think they have some of those at City Hall or around.
Sorry, e-scooters, not e-bikes.
E-scooters, not e-bikes. Yes. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, so that's part of the pilot project for the e-scooters. It's funny because in Paris they're actually banning the e-scooters. They're causing too many accidents in Paris, and they're banning them in certain areas of Paris. So,
well,
you know,
one of the things I know about the pilot for the e-scooters, there's GPS tracking on it, and if it detects that you're riding on a sidewalk, it'll shut down the scooter. And also, you cannot just leave the scooter wherever, and you actually have to take it back to one of the stations, wherever those are going to be. Otherwise, you're going to continue to get charged. So that might address some of the issues. I don't know specifically. Do you know what the issue was in Paris?
Well, that it caused a lot of accidents. So because, you know, Paris is basically, you know, it's a bike-friendly city, right? I mean, Barcelona, Madrid, all these European cities. In fact, the mayor of Paris, when she got elected, basically wants to phase out cars. I think it's by 2028 or 29 or a little bit before that in the downtown area of Paris. So she's got a bold vision of how to transform Paris from car-centric to bike-centric. And she's changed a lot of the lanes, eliminated cars on a lot of streets and so on and so forth. So there's a lot more people riding bikes. And apparently what's happening is the e-scooters, and I've seen it in Barcelona with the Segways, where people aren't sure and they cause a lot of accidents. So it's different than riding a bike, than riding an e-scooter, than riding an e-bike, right? So it's good trying to get them out of the cars, but at the same time, you've got to learn, you know, have people learn how to ride a bike, just like you have to learn, you know, how to ride an e-scooter or a vehicle or an automobile. It's not, sometimes they're not, you know, they're not steady on the e-scooters. So I know that what was it, 2 or 3 years ago when they were doing this, you were down in Chinguacousy Park and they had the scooters down there and you were riding them. How did you find them?
I loved it. I brought my wife along, who cannot ride a bike. I said, the scooter's not that hard, and she struggled. And anyway, she came back home and she had this black and blue bruise on her shin area that didn't go away for 6 months.
Okay, so she's not getting on an e-scooter anytime.
Well, you know, I might convince her. It's like if you did it once, you know, I think it's like riding a bike. You don't forget. But we'll see.
All right. So anyway, that pilot project is starting. We'll see what happens with that.
Okay, let's move on, Don, to our topic of the day, which is the Bramalea Civic Centre. Let me see if I can get the picture up there. So let me just kind of summarize.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as everyone knows, Brampton is, well, maybe you don't know, is getting a medical school through the Toronto Metropolitan University, which was formerly Ryerson. And I guess the location of the medical school was kind of in play for, especially during the election campaign, from my understanding, anyways, from my following of the election campaign. And then in January 27th, an announcement was made as to the location, which is going to be the Bramalea Civic Centre. And at that time, we still didn't know the details. Were they going to rent it? Were they going to take over the whole place? Were they buying it? So what actually transpired was TMU is being given the space, and the theater, which is used for a lot of arts and performance arts in the city, is going to be leased back to the city. And then the library is being evicted, and all of the other tenants are being evicted. So that's the scenario we're at now. And so there's lots of people in that area who are upset with this decision, least of which is not the Brampton Library Board. And I saw some musings from them about what's going on. And so the library is being moved to the ski chalet at Chinguacousy Park, which is a significantly smaller space, and all the admin staff, are being shuffled around. I think they're going to lose the studio space they had for kind of audio recordings. So it's big chaos. What do you have to say about what's going on, Don?
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of things that have to go in place when you want to put a medical school in there. I mean, it's a big space. A lot of people are serviced through that Brampton. I know that MNS Multi-Neighborhood Services actually has space in there to service the kids that they, their programs and everything else that they offer through the Peel region. So I know they have a space in there as well. The arts groups, I think that was something that Councillor Santos was looking into, because there's now like it's an art program, or not an art program, but an art, what do they call it? Sort of, they're putting together a program or an actual strategy for the arts program in Brampton. That theater, that's a pretty good theater, actually. It's a nice theater in that building.
Well, I remember when we were looking at doing
debates and so on and so forth. That was one of the ones we were looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only other theater in the city, obviously, is the Rose Theater, but in terms of the community, is the one, I forget the name of it. It's at another. Well,
the Cyril Clark. There's a Cyril Clark,
which is significantly smaller.
Right. That's a Lester B. Pearson one inside the Bramalea Civic Centre. It's a Lester B. Pearson.
So there are limited performance spaces in Brampton. I know when my two daughters were dancing, we would travel around Southern Ontario for these dance competitions, and there were some nice spaces. Brampton was always like, they didn't really have dance competitions here, because the only place you could have done it was the Rose Theater, and we actually did it once, but I think it's expensive.
I just don't get. I don't get why the Rose Theater can't, that's something that's not used all the time, right? There's certain times of the day there's nobody there, there's nothing in there. It's like, I just don't understand why that facility cannot be used for local groups to be able to, rent it if you're a nonprofit group, to rent it at a very cheap rate to be able to use it, right?
Well, I think for performances, like one-off performances, I think you can, we've used the space, right? But what a lot of these groups need is practice and rehearsal space. And, it's the same space you perform at that you often practice at. Not necessarily. Jill Richardson said also, it's having everything in one place that was convenient. And I don't disagree. With the recent renovations in there, I think between 5 and 7 million between the library and the theater, it was a nice space. We went to
it's a gorgeous space, but I just think that the Rose Theater is underutilized. And basically, as a dance or a theater, I mean, the library could be separate, but at the same time, in regards to Jail's comment, it's, when you're doing dance and stuff like that, I mean, if you can get somebody to utilize the Rose Theater. The other thing is that, that Heritage Theater in downtown Brampton, I don't know how many years that has been up in the air about what are you going to do with this building, right? There was some talk about actually, we can retrofit it. There's a problem, gut the building and make a new building for for arts and entertainment, studios in that building.
Well, so let me just backtrack. So the money was allocated in this 2023 city budget towards the arts, specifically starting to design a center for the arts, but that's going to be on the opposite side of the city at the Flower City.
Flower City. Yeah.
Flower City.
Which is at McLaughlin and Queen area.
Yeah, the issue here is we're losing a highly used city facility. I think by the summer they have to get out, and it appears that this wasn't planned properly, and people, especially young people who use this place, it takes years to rebuild or to build something new, and these kids are going to be grown up by then. So you're losing, a generation of kids. If you ask
Well, I'll
me.
put it this way: that library services Knightsbridge, right? Knightsbridge is just around the area there, so it's a big area where you have a lot of low income people, right? I mean, Knightsbridge is like that, right? For them now, they have to go north into Chinguacousy Park at the ski chalet. The bus terminal basically stops it around there, right? So that's Bramalea Civic Centre is a big area that has a lot of transit and everything else. So it's an unfortunate. I think they have about a year to move out. So
no, I thought it was this August. The
This
board
August.
of the library. It might be the library. The board of the library wrote a letter. I haven't completely read it. Actually, I don't have the whole letter. That's why things are confusing. Like, even if we look at some of the questions coming up here today, are we losing the Lesser B. Pearson Theater? I don't think we're losing it, according to Councillor Santos, but I'm not sure how we share it properly. And I think Justin said it's available, where did he say it? After 6 p.m. So now you're limiting the use of it.
yeah.
Justin, that's a long comment. I'm going to leave that for social media. In the ski chalet, there is not much room there. I haven't been into that facility, but I've passed by it. It's a much smaller facility. So, city council is going to have to deal with this. This is the issue right now for this term that, to me, is going to continue to blow up because people are going to be upset. The local councillors, Fortini and Power, are going to have to deal with this. And, one of the levels of government that's not dealing with this, that I think should be dealing with this, is the provincial government. Because Councillor Charmaine Williams is taking credit for finding this space for TMU and saying Councillor Fortini also deserves the credit. Well, if Councillor Williams is now at the provincial government, shouldn't some more funding or planning be allocated to offset either the cost of this space or for new space?
Well, here's the funny part too. Charmaine Williams took credit for it, saying, "Oh, look, I brought it," but at the same time, she actually voted against bringing medical university to Brampton. At city council, she didn't want the university.
Are you sure? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, pretty sure. So we're not 100% sure.
I'm pretty 100% sure.
Okay, but yeah, it was post-secondary education was a contentious issue last term.
Yeah,
I think everybody would agree that we want this medical school. I think TMU also has to be more of a community player. I think they kind of told the city, from what I'm gathering, is we get that space or we go somewhere else.
Well, like I said, I mean, if the Lester B. Pearson we have the Rose Theater. To me, it's just I see the Rose Theater is underutilized most of the time. If you go by there during the day, there's nothing going on. There's a box office open and that's it. Now, staffing, okay, that could be a problem as well. But I mean, because a lot of the staff at the Rose Theater are volunteers, but if you got all these people that are organizations that are clamoring for the use of it, maybe you need to step up and give an alternative.
Yeah, and Don, you and I have been doing the show for over a year now, and I have never seen so many comments on one specific issue that I'm seeing right now. Like, I can't keep up with them. And I'm not vetting them. I'm just kind of clicking them as they come along. This is a big issue. And I don't think a lot of people who live in that area they probably don't even know now. They probably don't even know that's the location of the medical school. So, the council really has to address this. They have to address it quickly, not at a citywide, but for the local community. I think citywide, they got a good message. They're allocating money. They're building a new center. Lots of great things are happening across the city. More money is going into arts. But what about this facility?
Yeah, and the comment there by Kim, it's like they postponed the Howden, because I think what they're doing is they postponed the Howden, but they're doing something up in I think Ward 2 and
Hamilton.
6, right? They're
The Hamilton
transferring.
Community Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I don't live in Ward 7 and I live in Ward 2 and 6. When we moved, we thought it was Mississauga. And it's been and the closest community center to me is River Grove Community Center, and that's where I go. I haven't been in there in a while. And the closest library to me is a little plaza library. So it's not as if services by the library provided equitably across the city. That branch is a great branch, but this is an opportunity for the library to step up and demand from the city what they demand, because I think they're being treated unfairly here. And also the library should really say, well, how are you going to provide these services equitably across the city? This is their moment. I think I saw today that they said they're the lowest funded public library system of any major city in Canada. Well, fix it. Advocate. I don't see the library standing up for residents at all, the library board.
Yeah, and the comment before about the Heritage Theatre, I've seen so many buildings over in Europe that have been renovated. If there's a problem, they keep the facade on the outside and they build it. I remember, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, City Council was entertaining quotes on that property where the Heritage Theatre sits, to be able to, for builders, if they wanted to build something. And then part of that was they would have an arts on the bottom, an arts council, and there would be connected with spaces so art groups could actually use it. And on the top would be office buildings. So, I mean, there's multi-use all over the world. This is not like rocket science. Yep. It's not an impossibility. Someone mentioned that, there's asbestos in there. Yeah, okay, so tear it out. Big deal. This is not the first building in the world that has asbestos where you take it out, right?
Yeah. So I think from our perspective, Don, what we have to do is get the local councillors on here to start telling people what the plan is, what the solution is, and answering the questions. That's not for me and you to do. That's
no, of course not. I mean,
they're paying, and that's why we're paying them as councillors, and they need to start devising a plan here. Yeah,
and there's a lot of, as you said before, there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions. So, where is it going to be? How long is it going to be? When is the turnaround time? Is this a short-term, a long-term solution? Is there a long-term solution, a short-term solution? What about, the Arts Council that they were talking about, and the arts, what did they call it? A master plan, I guess. Where does that fit into the whole scenario? So there's a lot of questions and there's not too many answers. So we'll see.
Yeah, and one of the comments was there wasn't any public consultation. So there's an opportunity here for the local councillors to step up.
Yep.
I know it's a tough problem, but they've got, before the next election, another 3.5+ years to come up with a solution.
And I know we offer the councillors to come on anytime they want to talk about a situation. So at any councillor sitting out there, whether it be, Rowena Santos talking about the arts, whether it be Rod Power, Pat Fortini, anyone in that area that's connected, they're more than welcome to come on and take people's questions about this. So,
and at council, when this was being discussed, I think it was last week, and actually tomorrow, there's still an opportunity for residents to kind of provide public input at tomorrow's council meeting. Because any decision made that you might have heard about in the last week hasn't actually been finalized until the meeting tomorrow that's going to be ratified. So send your letters, send an email to your councillors on whatever the issue is you're having, if you agree or don't agree on what you think some solution should be. But this is the only way things change, is when residents are vocal. Yep. This is how our democracy works. So this is an opportunity to get things fixed the way you want to see it.
Yep. So you mentioned council. There's something up on council tomorrow.
Yes. Let me see here. Hold on. Yes. You talking about the speed?
Yeah.
Okay. So next topic, I know we're going along tonight, is, oops, here we go.
So tomorrow on council, they actually have something going. It's a pilot project they want to institute through. There's a whole list of streets and stuff. You can go on the city website and see, go to the agenda, and you can see what streets. But it's a pilot project. They want to cut down from 50 kilometers an hour to 40 kilometer an hour zones to see if they can make sure that, this is instituted across the city. I think eventually they want to kick it around down to 40. You were saying before that Mississauga has instituted 30 kilometers an hour, but is that throughout this whole city or is that a pilot project?
Both good questions, but they've gone out from 40 to 30, and I think in school zone areas. So
In school zone areas only.
yeah. So we've got 3 levels of government we're dealing with if you're driving around, because sometimes you're in Mississauga and you don't even know, and vice versa. So it's 30 kilometers in school zones in Mississauga. There's 40 kilometers school zones here. Regional roads are managed by the region. Those are typically 70 kilometers. So this is chaos as well, right? I don't understand how you can drive on a 70-kilometer road and then turn into a 50-kilometer road and not remember that it's 50 kilometers. So you're just asking for drivers to break the speed limit just because of, Steeles Avenue is 70 kilometers in a lot of places. Why is it 70 kilometers? It should, across the city, unless you're a freeway, 60 kilometers. I know a lot of people will be upset with that, but if we want to be safe, we need to start lowering these speeds on roads that are no longer, going through rural farmland.
Well, one of the things that was mentioned in the report that I came across was, basically staff was said, yeah, you can lower the speed limit if you want from 50 to 40, but without any repercussions. Like what's the end result of it, right?
What do you mean the repercussions is speeding?
Yeah, it was speeding, but it's like just because you post a sign saying it's 40 kilometers an hour, unless you have a camera or something else to catch the speeders, or a police officer writing tickets, people aren't going to change your habit just because there's a sign that says 50 to 40.
I would, Don. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Okay. You're probably one of the million that is. If you drive around Brampton, and I know, right?
Yeah.
That speed limits don't seem to be,
Let's go back. There's some comments here. So bring
okay.
my Councillor Pat Fortini. He took full credit during the Brampton Board of Trade debate on this whole TMU debacle. I feel he's out of touch with the residents. Yeah, I think I think we know councillors watch this, Don. We try to be fair. We're not here to interrogate or to accuse. We're here to offer a platform for them to share what their perspective is, right? So we'll invite both Rod Power and Councillor Fortini to talk about this situation, because I think it's a state where a lot of people are really worried, especially if you're in the arts.
Yep.
And you use the library facilities.
And you use the library, sure, absolutely.
And in terms of the speeds, these bike lanes are always slowing things down.
I don't find they're slowing things down. The bike lanes basically, I don't mind bike lanes because I ride my bike too. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you, there is no way that I would ride my bike on the bike lanes in Brampton, because they're unprotected bike lanes. Painting a bike lane is not infrastructure, as Gil Pelanosa says, right? It's like, you put up concrete barriers like they do in most European cities. They do not have painted lines. They have concrete barriers. They have some sort of barrier to keep the cars from going over, and they're separated, and they're two-way, going both way. So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I bike in the summertime. I don't bike in the winter. I'm not bike centric, but I do bike in the summertime when I have to. But I don't use the
I think there's a transition period between nothing to separated bike lanes and painted lines. I know councilors talked about more paint to make it more visible. At the end of the day, bike lanes aren't going to disappear. You can fight all you want now to have them kind of slow down the implementation. But what the whole purpose of slowing down traffic is to improve safety. But also, that is the primary purpose, right? You have to get from A to B, but you're going to need to figure out better ways to get there. Either it be public transit, a different route. I know I've always heard complaints about Vauden. Figure out a different time to travel, a different way to go home.
Yeah, well, I see a lot of parents that, dropping off their kids, they drive like 2 or 3 blocks and they drop off to a drop-off area to school, and they drive. It's like, I'm sorry, but, this may sound, like old, cranky old grandpa, but, I used to walk to school, and it was, I'm sorry, but in Niagara Falls, there was at least a couple miles every day. Right. And it was like, it's not.
Yeah, I used to travel 3 kilometers each way 4 times a day because I never stayed home for lunch.
Well, there you go. And then, get a bike and do the bike lanes and have the kids. I see people picking up kids. Like, it's like, these are big kids. I mean,
Yeah, but that's not the only solution, right? It's like
It's not the only solution.
change your
but at
habits.
but at the same time, habit changes have to be made for a lot of people. And you know what? It's, you got to institute it. You got to make a city, people friendly. You can't make it centric only on cars. That is not what a good city is made of.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
One
and
last thing before we go.
Last comment we'll give to Justin. Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Protected cycle lanes this summer. So
All right.
that's great.
I travel that area most of the time.
So we'll see you on the paths then, Don.
Well, see, if I got to get there from my perspective.
Okay, and finally, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, well, the IHF, the hockey is starting tomorrow. The games are starting at the CAA Center. So this is the International Ice Hockey Federation. The women's, all the top-tiered women teams in the world are playing. So it's a good opportunity to go out, support Canada. The France versus Finland is starting at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. USA versus Japan is at 3 p.m. And then Canada versus Switzerland is at 7 p.m. And you can watch that at the Garden Square, the big screen at Garden Square. So it kicks off tomorrow, goes to the 16th. So, get out and support Team Canada, the women's Team Canada.
Okay, Don, on that note, we will see you guys all next week.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks for joining us.